Welcome back. Episode number 27, believe it or not, of the Union 0430. We got a pretty cool local guest on tonight. Local for me, not really local for everybody else, but kind of local for me. And we'll get to him in a second, but we'll introduce the lads first. We got Mark just outside the nation's capital. We got Ryan just outside Halifax. Phil down in the dirty Schwa as usual. Dave up in Kincardine, and I am just outside of Kingston. Tonight, our guest is Mr. Cory Alkerton from
Alkerton.
Yeah, you got it there.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Everybody gets it wrong, buddy.
You can fucking give it to him.
yeah, go.
We do.
Oh,
yeah.
This is what happens when we don't pay guests to come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time. Cory's from Spencerville, just down to 416. And Cory's a pretty familiar name for most of the people along, Eastern Ontario, Southeastern Ontario. It's a name that most people recognize, even though you may not know him. So Cory's on with us tonight. We're going to have a good chat with him, pick his brain on some stuff. He's been doing it for a long time. Cory, I know you've been listening to past podcasts. You and your buddies at work have been listening to them. And you got a pretty good idea of what we're all about. But in case you missed it last week, in case you didn't get to see last week's show, we unintentionally put the handcuffs on Philly last week. Well, we sort of kind of knew what we were doing, but we didn't think that he was going to just not talk for the entire friggin' episode, right?
It's the only way he couldn't fucking swear.
Big time. So what we had done is we had secretly between Mark, Dave, Ryan, and myself, we had made a bet 2 weeks ago to see how many times Phil would drop an F-bomb. That carried over to last week where he said he would spend an entire episode without dropping an F-bomb. We took him for that challenge, and he proved smarter because he just didn't talk for the entire... Yeah.
I spoke like half a dozen words.
Okay, half a dozen words.
I commented Maddie on his luscious locks.
I get it, yeah. But you still...
I watched a few episodes. You get worked up.
Once people anger me.
So even though it was still a little bit of fun, Philly hardly spoke. So tonight, handcuffs are off. We've done our little experiment. We've tried it. So Philly, just picture yourself as a wild stallion running through the green pastures.
Spread your wings, peacock.
Yeah, and that
spread your wings
like a phoenix rising from the ashes. You just swear your little heart's content tonight.
I missed the old Phil.
Yeah.
Last episode, Phil sucked.
You guys fucking paid dearly.
Love you.
Big time. So, Cory, it's great that you agreed to come on and chat with us. Now you'll, I know you've listened to a few episodes, but now you'll really see just
pretty well all of them.
How dysfunctional we are.
I locked in and watched them all here the past week since you got a hold of me. I've been just play. Work's been pretty boring, so just keep rocking.
Awesome. Hey,
we knew someone did because the viewer count went up by 1.
Each episode.
Yeah.
Well, you got them all for me, bud.
So, Cory, I wanted to start it off, and before we were talking, I had mentioned you know, Ryan's on here, and Ryan's been a guide out west. Phil's got his own little thing that he does, even though he's not doing it this year because of the Wuhan. But you've been guiding, and you sort of kind of alluded to it a little bit before we hit the record button. But you know, you've been guiding out west, and you decided last year that was it for you. Do you wanna just touch on a little bit about, you know, that decision on why you decided to stop guiding?
Yeah, no, and you know, guiding is something. It's a love or hate job. You know, there's a lot of guys that say, you know, I'm gonna go be a guide, and you get out there the first year, and it's tough. Especially Ryan could probably elaborate on that. Like that first year is gonna run you right in the dirt, and you don't know anything about it. I don't care where you've guided before, but Saskatchewan's different. And I did that for enough years, like 9 years. Took 1 year off. My brother was getting married, and the year I took off, I realized I enjoyed being home after being gone for, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years. And so I took that year off, and then I said, well, you know, I'm going to give one last crack at it. So I, you know, at that time, once you work for that long out there, small niche, right, outfitters. So you talk to a bunch of them. And you know, I'm older than I was when I first started out there. Basically, I took the first contract that was thrown at me when I first went out. Now, you know, at that point, I had not a fiance yet, but my plan was to go out there and then get married. So that was it. I had said, you know what, this is going to be my last year, at least for a while. It's going to be my last year. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have some kids and stuff. So, and that's very hard to do, flying by the seat of your pants, driving 32 hours, gone for 2 months, maybe even longer if you keep working all the way through to the south. And, you know, and then trying to come back. And it's like, you know, when you're gone 2 months, it's like life kind of starts over when you get home. It's kind of weird. You're gone the whole beginning of the fall. And then when you come home to where I'm at, in southeastern Ontario, and you guys probably know this, it's, you know, minus 20 out there and freezing up by first week of November. You get home, it's 20 degrees here, you know. It's sometimes, you know, now this week's nice, perfect time.
It was on Friday.
But yeah. So I got snow here last night, which was awesome. Yeah. But it's been snowing out there for a month, you know. So, and then you start the season over, it was awesome. But to do that now, it's like and now I go right till January, you know, into January. I think January 9th, the end of duck season. We have ducks right to the end. So you're basically looking at like almost a 5-month season when you push that all through. It gets long, you know, and hard to do with a wife and kids. So I said, you know, that was my last year going out there. And then in the outfit I was with, there was, I think, 8 guides. They're all 21, 22 years old. There was one other guy, like 29, I think, and I was 30. So it was like me and one other guy, and there was a bunch of young lads, and those young lads are just giving her, you know what I mean? I thought, holy Christ, I'm not going to be able to keep up with this. So, but I did, and I realized by the end of it, though, it's funny, you get smarter at it, and Ryan could probably attest to that, but no, it's a young man's sport being out there. It's not like guiding here in Ontario. You know, we don't have the ducks to really push 2 hunts a day. It's doable at certain times of the year. Where out there, you can do it every day, you know. So 2 hunts a day, getting up. When you're up north, it's like daylight you're shooting at 4. And then the afternoon hunts, if they don't go good, by the time you get home, it's 11. By the time you eat dinner and have a few drinks, it's midnight, and you're getting back up at 2:30. It's a young man's sport. So I said, no, when I was done with that, I said, this is the end of the year. I came home last year and was home for 3 days, bought a ring, and got engaged. Pretty well. Threw the towel on everything, boys.
Just as well for you to get married, buddy. Why should you have all the fucking fun?
Yeah. No, so and I'd done it long enough. I've seen so much wildlife out there and been around Saskatchewan and Manitoba. I've had my fill of it, and I love it, and that's the only reason why I went back. It wasn't about the money, and that's the only reason I'll probably ever go back is the birds and the wildlife there. It's unbelievable. It's nothing compared to here.
Cory, you touched on the, and I believe you've guided for more than one company out west, right? And
Yep.
and you sort of touched on the fact, you're getting up in the morning, you're doing a hunt in the morning, then you're doing a hunt in the afternoon, and I'm trying to figure out if that's the status quo across all of the outfitters out west, because I know some of them, they'll operate. So if you guide in the morning, in the afternoon, you're scouting for the next day's hunt, right? You're not normally just bouncing from hunt to hunt to hunt to hunt. I'm sort of wondering, like, is that the status quo out there, where you're just, I get it, like a young man's game. They're all full of piss and vinegar and the whole bit, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I think you're right on that. The status quo is you have, like most places have, if you're running 2 to 3 groups, you have eight guides in camp, and you switch it up and they're all scouting and stuff. And I did that last year. And then, like Habitat Flat's kind of the same thing, but they had problems with American guides. By the time I got there, they had problems with American guides getting visas. So I showed up there thinking I was, with 9 guides, hardly ever going to guide. I was guiding every day. Outfitting, there's a lot of shit that happens in outfitting, and a lot of stuff that's not told, and that, is told and isn't the same. And when I got there, it was, and it was just by mistake, but they didn't get their visas. So I had to guide every day. And then for Mad Hatter, which I spent a lot of my time, great outfit, probably in the best zone of any outfit in any place I've been, zone 43. I've always loved that place. Mad Hatter, there was 2 guides. He had 2 guides, and he had the owner spotted, and the rest, there was 2 or 3 spotters, and you guided morning and night for 7 weeks straight. And like a fellow from Western Ontario, great waterfowler, probably another one of the best goose hunters I know, with Jeff Wensler. He works still for Mad Hatter, and he's been out there longer than Sand. Like, that guy's been out there for years, and he's with Mad Hatter now, and I don't know how he still does it. Like, 2 a days all season, man, it's tough. Like,
that's a good point you brought up, Cory, because like people listen to this and they're thinking about like young man's game and all that. They want to go live the dream and work out west. Well, it's hard work and all that jazz, but you better do, if you are interested, you better do your homework. You better contact the outfitter, because there's so many different ways to run it. Like there's a lot of shops that run the way you guys did, where you guys have spotters on the road and then guys go in behind them and hunt it. The one I work for, if you spot it, you hunt it. So there's that. So if that's something that doesn't appeal to you, make sure you do your homework and find out. And there's some guys out there, and I know, you got your share of horror stories too of buddies who guide, and the outfitter might be a little stingy, or you don't get paid. Like, so be aware of that. That's also an issue. So make sure you do your homework. Don't just jump in bed with the first guy who's going to give you a job. Make sure you get a little bit of background, a little bit of references too.
No,
I think outfitters know that it's a young man's sport, and they take advantage of that. At the age of 21, I didn't know business. I didn't know anything about that. I just send me a contract, send me a paycheck, I'll sign something and let's go, And then thank God they were honest about it, and they were all, I've been lucky, but I also ran into an outfit. Oh yeah, we're going to pay you $275 a day. And then you get there, it's like, well, okay, pal, I got this in writing. See ya. I'm not sticking around. Or if they tried, if something happens at the end of the season, they don't pay you, at least you have it in writing. So for young guys trying to go out there, I was going to recommend a few young lads to go out there, but I was like, you guys have got to have your ducks in a row and know, like, I went out as self-proprietor, so I could write a lot of stuff off. And I imagine Ryan maybe probably does the same thing. It's very easy to do. But from a business standpoint, you got to have your ducks in a row. Make sure you get all the paperwork you can. And when you come home, you got to have your, T4 and stuff when you come home. File your taxes. They'll be all over you if you don't do that. You know what I mean? First years I went out, I didn't get that. And I came home and dumped a boatload of cash in the bank. And, I'm lucky, you know what I mean? Like nothing ever came of it, but like hopefully nobody watches this, but you know what I mean?
Nobody's
Oh,
in
buddy, there's
CIA.
millions and millions that watch this
Oh,
show.
so many viewers.
Yeah.
But you know,
yeah.
like it's something as years progressed, it was like when I talk to outfits about contracts, it's like they know when you know. You know what I mean? They know when you don't know, and they'll take you to the cleaners, you know what I mean? So you gotta be careful, but there are some very good reputable outfitters out there, you know, Mad Hatter, Prairie's Edge, Habitat Flats, you know. There was a lot of gif about them over the years. When I went there, yeah, there was some stuff that came up about the guys not having visas and shit, but I probably learned the most about hunting at Habitat Flats because, as well, we all know they got the best hunters and guides you can ask for. And man, like guys like Dusty Brown in camp for 7 weeks to pick his brain every day, you know, that was worth its weight in gold to me. Taught me everything I know about goose hunting. You know, and then Tony. You know, Tony catches a bad rap. He's probably the best goose hunter, waterfowl hunter, hardest working waterfowl hunter I've ever seen in my life. Wow. So, and I mean, you see guys like that, you're thankful you quit thinking about the paycheck and what you come away with knowledge, right? So, yeah, no, it's good. It's just I've had it, and I've had enough of it for a little while, anyways. So, family time now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Listen, last week we were doing the show last week, and you dropped an Instagram story saying you were cleaning out the call shop, and you came across something that you said that you were going to talk about on this episode.
Yeah, well, you know, something we talked about is, earlier before the show is like new hunters getting into it and being frustrated, you know, with, you know, guys approaching it on areas and stuff. A big thing I hear a lot is like, you know, all you guys are the same as we're running 150 decoys and trailers and stuff like that. And then you run into a guy in the field, and maybe if it's young lads, sure, I don't, you know, it doesn't bother me. But when it's, you know, guys that are retired and they got 12, you know, Bigfoots they got on sale, and it's maybe not the first year. Maybe this has been happening for the last 5 to 7 years. And it's the same guy or guys doing this and not getting any better at calling, same 12 decoys. And then when you give them shit about it and say, you know, you're blowing a 1,500 bird field for nothing. Look, your setups, you know, no good. And you clearly haven't tried to improve on your calling. Well, I don't have the money. I don't have the money for decoys. Well, when I started out, you know, I had to compete with some really good waterfowlers in this area. You know, this is waterfowl and goose hunting capital of Ontario right down east here. And, you know, to compete, it's a numbers thing. But we didn't have money. So we just got plywood, and you got to have over 40 decoys. I don't care who you are. So we cut out 90 silhouettes and painted them black and white. We cut up white-walled tires into thirds, and you just lay them white down through the field, and we had, you know, 100 decoys, and we killed limits over it. That's how I started. So then you get 50-year-old retired guys telling me you don't have the money for it. It's like, come on. So then you get young lads talking about, oh, you know, we got decoy rigs, you know, nuts and bolts and stuff, and, you know, we all used them, great big nuts when we were kids. And I know, like, Phil, he's a big thing on that decoy anchor company you use.
Redline.
Redline, that's it. Yeah. I was going to say Bloodline, but yeah, Redline. And they're really good, but they're, you know, pricey for young lads to get them up here. You know, you can go buy fishing line from like what do you call that? The big thick fishing line. It's really expensive though. Yeah, monofilament to use. Go to the hardware store. The cheapest fishing line you can get that's green, and it comes in a triangle. It's called Edge. And that stuff's like 1/8 of an inch thick. All that monofilament stuff, they say it doesn't tangle. It will tangle. I cannot get, you can't tie a knot in that Edge whippersnipper wire. It's just, you can't tie a knot in that stuff. So I had this roll of Edge whippersnipper wire, and I made countless decoy rigs out of that stuff. put it through a 1/8 ferrule, get a cheap 1/8 ferrules around, crimp her down. That stuff's tough as nails. And you have decoy anchors and it's green. Now, I had a buddy who did the same thing. Yeah, I was telling him about that last week. And he said, well, yeah, I did that, but I used orange and it didn't go so good for me. Orange just coil sitting on the top of the water, flare and stuff. So, but yeah, for young hunters, like, you got to think, and it's that's what a waterfowler is, thinking outside of the box, doing it the cheap way. But the cheap way will work a lot of times. And that edge whippersnipper line, man, it worked great. You can't tie knot in it. You can tangle that stuff. And it's like $6 for a 300-foot coil. You got a lifetime of it. So.
Hey, that's awesome. Really good point. But you totally Trudeau'd my question.
Trudeau, I got away from it.
You was like, I don't want to answer that fucking question, so I'm going to come up with a story about whippersnipper wire.
But that's it. That was my little secret, is that whippersnipper wire.
Holy fuck.
Man, that was my best
now. It's
secret
all
for
over the
longest
fucking
time.
Webernet.
All over the Webernet for the millions and millions of fans that listen.
Fuck yeah.
Well, I just hope the local young lads see that, because, I mean, I was at Cabela's the other day, and it's crazy what you pay for anchors. I go to the local auto shop, melt down my own old wheel weights and stuff, and make my own anchors the way I want them for free.
Mm-hmm.
The time invested, you gotta, I guess, calculate your time. But holy Jesus, if you're gonna calculate your time, you better go buy a duck at the grocery store.
I think for the most part, it's about being resourceful. Like, there's so much shit that you can find and use that's either like dirt ass cheap or practically free that you can use. Like decoys, you can constantly get used duck floaters and stuff on Instagram, or like not so much Instagram, like Facebook and whatnot. Guys selling old stuff that you can add to your spread, like for these young guys. Decoy weights, like even for my long lines, I use brake rotors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brake rotors. I don't care how big the fucking waves are. They ain't gonna move. Your decoy's gonna stay put.
I mean,
Like,
another thing that you can innovate with is that some guys don't have bands on their lanyard. You can go to a Delta dinner and get a few bands.
oh,
Fuck
speaking
yes.
of which, I know like there's companies where you buy stuff from the company and they'll send you a band in the box and you can put that on your lanyard too.
I mean, that's okay if you're 10 or 12.
Like a fake tarsal band?
Those too, I've heard.
Really?
That's awesome. I love it.
Another good spot to get decoy weights?
But nobody is. Yeah, but like seriously though, fellas, like there's nobody. Like I could see kids doing it, and like a dad probably throwing some of them on their lanyard for their kid when you're taking your kid out for a hunt. On his first lanyard with his first calls and stuff like that. But I would argue that a grown man is not doing that. I wouldn't think so. Cory's face.
You clearly don't spend enough time on the fucking Webernet.
Yeah.
They exist.
They exist, yeah.
Yes.
Those types.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
I've seen those guys. I got the whole set. I killed them all.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
It's not McDonald's Monopoly, dude. Like,
killed my bank account.
yeah.
I was being a little facetious there when I was talking about no one would actually do it. I know who you are. I look at your picture and I can see Delta Waterfowl stamped on your bands from your pictures. So don't think we don't know. We know. Watching you.
Oh boy.
That's awesome.
The best for getting decoy weights is when a couple weeks ago I went to the dump and some guy had put like a whole bunch of these like tractor weights down, and they were just those little round ones. So I emptied out the dump trailer and then I filled it with these fucking tractor, and I ended up like I only paid $12 in dump fees because I took so much weight out of there. And then
You come
and then I
out,
get-
they had to pay you.
they had baby, yeah. And then I get home and I'm back at the trailer inn, and I get out of the truck and I got this big ass smile on my face. And my wife's like, "What the fuck did you take home?"
What did you
Constant-
find
So-
now?
Yeah.
So now listen, I get it. I totally read you a million miles an hour when it comes to this being resourceful and stuff. I get it. Listen, Mark Vitch picked me up 24 Texas rigs before the opener, and it cost me $42. And these are the slickest fucking rigs I've ever seen. I didn't have to go crawling through fucking garbage and welding shit up. Like, I get it. Like, yeah, be resourceful, but like, come on, fellas. Like, spend $20 on a fucking dozen decoy rigs.
But
You
isn't
haven't
duck hunting the
seen
same
shit.
thing? Like duck hunting's
What?
the same thing where you have like $3,000 worth of fucking decoys just to get a $15 duck that you can get at the store.
Absolutely.
Me
Yeah, I
making,
guess so.
me making my weights, like, yeah, I'm getting this equipment shit from the dump, but I've got like a $3,000 welder that I'm using to make them, right? Like, at the same
That doesn't
time.
count. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
No.
Resourceful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, with
Now,
me
now the other difference there, Dave, is you're actually enjoying, like, that's fun for you to make that, use your welder and getting out and that stuff. See, that stuff is not fun for me. I don't enjoy that. I'm fucking running a million miles an hour from the time I wake up in the morning until the time I go to bed at night. So my time is worth a lot. So if I can spend $20 and that saved me an hour's worth of work, I'm doing it all day, every day.
Well, in fairness, at the fucking
But I get
speed
what you're
you
saying.
move, at the fucking speed you move, you get twice as much shit done in a day than a regular person. Like you're at like a
I don't
fucking
know if you're
9.
offending him or
Yeah.
You're at like a 9. We need you at like about a 4.2, Damien.
That's what they call
No,
it back
I'd like-
as a compliment.
You just need to tone her down. You're
Yeah, I do.
you're like semi-retarded now from work. So
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not retired. I retired from one job and just took up another job.
started like semi-retarded.
At the end of the day, I did my first weed edible last week, and they're awesome.
Oh, fuck.
We'll touch more on that on another episode.
Oh fuck!
Oh boy. Is
Oh,
that the
boy.
episode where we're all going to take edibles an hour before we start recording?
We
Except
should.
me. I'm not allowed.
I'm not allowed to eat.
Well, and Mark, actually, we cannot allow Mark to do it because we don't need old Mark.
I will sit here and just make fun of you fucking goobers.
Yeah, yeah. You know Frank the Tank, he ain't got shit on old Mark.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure when Will Ferrell was getting ready to do that role, he had met some of Mark's old friends and they were telling him stories and he was like, yeah, I can totally pull that off. But he didn't do it justice.
Minus the streaking at the gymnasium.
Yeah. And his love for KFC is just out there. Anyway, sort of a bit of a tangent.
So
What are you
anyway,
doing?
Tangent.
So
I
Corey,
didn't
what are you
mean
doing there?
that.
Are you
Oh,
tuning,
just playing.
are you
Go ahead,
tuning
Corey.
up a call?
Just playing with calls. Anyways, to just get back to where I was, going back to the decoy line thing, use your situation to your advantage. As me, I grew up a trapper. Cable and ferrules are a trapper's best friend. I have had cable and ferrules in my shop as a snareman my entire life. My father's trap, so I have ferrules, but I was making decoy anchors out of fucking stainless cable. Father would kill me. So, get some whippersnipper lines, grip them down, away you go. If your father's a mechanic, get him to get decoy weights, and melt them down. Then you feel like you're at a forged in fire when you're melting that shit down. It's wicked, So the younger hunters out there, you don't have to go by the latest and greatest. You always just, look at what you got and then think of something, And if you do that, start doing that with ducks. They aren't so smart. Start doing that with geese and simplify things. They aren't so smart. So, but anyways, I'm just tinkering with some calls here.
So that's a nice segue into my next question, was that you started making your own calls. So, and I've asked this question before, and I don't think I've really got a true answer. So don't Trudeau this question. What do you, because it seems like there's a lot of people now making calls, like a lot more popular over the last, say, 4 years.
Yep.
It seems like there's a lot of dudes that are doing it, right? So what in your idea, what's causing this sudden desire to make, because God knows you're not gonna be the next Phil Robertson, right? Like, I'm sure you make good calls, but those duck dynasties are, 1 in a million, right?
Well, and I would attribute Duck Dynasty to 100% of that.
Yeah.
Look at how many waterfowlers are out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would say Duck Dynasty was the worst thing to happen to waterfowling, but Duck Dynasty was the greatest thing to happen to hunting in general. For once, you could walk through an airport, and I mean, when they became huge, I was going to the SHOT Show when they started going to the SHOT Show in Vegas. You couldn't wear fucking camo through an airport without somebody, stink eyeing you or looking at you or saying something to you. Those guys roll through an airport now. They, people love them. If you wear Max 4 and have a beard, yeah, okay, everybody's going to think you're the Robertsons or whatever, or say something. But at least they're viewing hunting in a good state of mind. You know what I mean?
Very good
as
point.
a good. So, yes, as a waterfowler, yes, I kind of hate it. It's made everybody just want to get out there and wear face paint and grow a beard down here. And I mean, I was there too. I was a kid. I'm only 30. When they were big, I was like 13 or 14. I got all their videos sitting 10 feet behind me. And they're still great duck hunting videos. There's very educational stuff on that if you know ducks, So do I think it was bad for waterfowling? Maybe, yeah, for sure. But it's done great for the waterfowling industry. Now getting to call making, I think for sure, yes, that attributed to wanting to make duck calls. And it probably was, to me, a lot wanting to make duck calls. For me, it was a lot to my father and my brother were carpenters, or are carpenters. Okay. My father was a cabinet maker and stuff like that. He was a trapper this whole life, but he used to make cabinets, and he was an old-time carpenter in Upper Canada Village. Maybe some of you guys know.
Yeah, I know.
But anyways, very custom, woodworker. So I always had lathes and stuff around me growing up. So, and I always worked with wood, Going into grade 9, I could pass a grade 13 woodworking course. So at that time, I wanted to turn my own baseball bats. I was a big baseball player. Yeah. So then became what, duck hunting became more important than that. And I always wanted to make calls. I think I made my first call when I was 14. It worked, not that great, but I can remember making my first call, and I didn't have a jig or nothing. Holding that bastard at the bandsaw and just waiting to slice my finger off.
Safety Digest.
Oh, yeah. Like, just terrible. I wouldn't even try it now. And, I can remember calling in my first duck with it and killing that duck. And I think then that's when I wanted to make calls. But between then, a lot happened. Between that stage of life when you're 14 till you're about 21, there's a lot of learning. And duck call building wasn't in between that. So then once I kind of, 22, started working and stuff, I got back to making more stuff out of wood. And then I bought my own place here off my grandparents. And I was always making stuff with wood at that point. And the guy I recently guided this past weekend, I traded him a Browning A5 for a couple lathes and tools like you would not believe, pretty expensive gun.
That's
and
pretty
he
cool.
gave me my full setup.
I'm sorry. You fucking did what?
Oh shit. We didn't tell you about
original Auto 5, an A5.
Okay.
Still a humpback though,
not
isn't
original.
Yeah, it's not the
Not
original.
the same gun.
Oh, it's not?
No.
So for those inept fucks that don't know any better, the Auto 5 is like the original iconic humpback semi-auto waterfowler's fucking gun. The A5 is the newer version that Browning has since released.
I think Dave Roy, if I'm not mistaken, he has a full collection of A5s. Full. All of them.
Oh, well, great. Now Phil's going to be stocking Dave Roy.
He already has been. No, so I traded that to get my lays, and, you know, I started, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and I made a couple calls. And so I was obviously still working out west, and I was taking my RNTs, and, you know, I got a call off Phil a few years back, and those calls are amazing, you know. GKs, you know, molt gears. I still use them, you know, they're great calls. And I said, well, you know, I want to build my calls to last out west on the biggest stage, right? So I built 2 calls 3 years ago, and I took them out west with me, and that's all I took. Bunch of reeds, but I took a goose call I made and duck call I made, and, you know, if they last, but I'm using wood. And the only reason why I built duck calls and it kind of took off there was I found a bunch of wood in my barn mow that had been cut 40 years ago, a bunch of cherry and ash and stuff. So don't got to stabilize it. It's good and hard, you know. The stuff's been dried. So I made most of my calls out of that, took them out. They've lasted. I still got both of them sitting right in front of me here. And yeah, that kind of took off from there, and I just been building calls randomly for buddies and stuff. And then once we did that video this past winter on it, holy shit, man, stuff took right off for me. So
good for you.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know,
good.
Tell them what your video is called on YouTube, because I've watched it a bunch of times and I absolutely love that video.
It's called Call at Home. So what happened was, I moved into this house. My grandfather died. He built this house in '73 and lived here with my grandma. And he died 6-7 years ago. And I moved in with her right after he died. And I bought my dog. So he's 6.5. So yeah, I bought my dog. My old man told me, he says, "You buy another dog." You know, I wanted my own waterfowl hunting dog. I was going to west, running around by myself, picking up birds. I bought a dog, came home from Toronto, bought him in Orangeville. I came home, my dad said, "You're out of the house." I said, "What?" So I had to move in with my grandma. You know, it worked out great. I had to look after her. Oh, fuck, he kicked me right out. And I was like, Jesus Christ. So I came here.
This is a bit harsh, Dad.
Yeah, you know. So
You've got to leave, the dog can stay.
Probably should have went that way at that age. And so I came here, and I was down in the basement within the first like 4 or 5 months working here or living here. And I was going through drawers. He had an old workshop in the basement. I found this duck band, and it, you know, just in a jar, an old glass jar. And I said, "Holy shit," you know. And I asked Grandma about it. She said, "Oh, I think he shot it the year we built the house." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." She said, "But your grandfather never called it in because he was a big worrywart. Like, he just thought the mafia was living next door because they had statues on their driveway. Like, I'm telling you, he was just paranoid. So he never called it in. You know, he thought government duck. He's not going to call that in. So I called it in. Yeah, sure enough, it had never been reported. And it was a black duck shot over in Messina on the other side, or well, banded over in Messina. Shot it right here behind the house, the big northern black. So I said, well, holy shit, that's neat, you know. So, and I thought, and I've had ducks here behind the house. I got a little river that runs here. Grew up on it, trapping on it, seen a lot of ducks, and I know some good spots on it. Here's been good, but over the years, so now I got some beaver dams. I can dictate some water and stuff. So now I got ducks back here. Anyways, it came about, I wanted to kill a black duck to put this band on. And it's sitting right in front of me, the one I did kill. I don't know. I'll turn the camera in a bit. Anyways, then I got into back to the call building, and I said, well, holy shit, I want to build a duck call with the cherry he cut and kill a big black duck from my property, our property, and put that band on it. So, and that's basically has been my goal. And I was doing all that, and at the same time when this video rolled around, Call It Home, that this fellow Reed Zambelt, he's from Ottawa. He was in New Zealand. My wife, her best friend, went to school with him. He came back to Ottawa, and he said, he's seen a little bit of my duck calls, and he said, I'd like to make a video of that. And I said, well, I got kind of a good story here for you if you want to. And he's like, holy shit. So he came down 3 or 4 days to film, and I couldn't believe how good this guy was. Like, and now me and Phil, or me and Reed are just like tight, great fella. He came from a non-hunting community, like family, and all of a sudden works in Alberta and goes to New Zealand for 2 years to work for an outfitter, filming and skinning, so he's ready to learn. So it was a trade-off. I didn't pay anything for that. I said, I'm going to teach you how to kill whatever you want to kill, because I'm fortunate enough I never did anything but hunt and trap. You name it, I can kill it. That's all I've done. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not good at anything else, but maybe a little woodworking, So Reed, he's good at filming, and we traded off, and he made that video, and it's worked out good for him. And that's all I really ever wanted was, to showcase my story, but really to work out for him, to get him some business. He's a little bit younger than me, and now he's making videos for everybody. And so it's really, really worked out, and it's a good testament to my grandfather and stuff. And my grandmother's still alive, and then she got to see it all go down, and from there it went on to CTV and stuff. So been pretty cool, man. Pretty humbling, pretty cool. So
that is really cool.
Yeah.
This is more of a generic question, but Phil, I got a feeling you're probably going to chime in on this most, just because of your experience. Had a phone call today with a fella, and he was looking for a choke tube. So 20 gauge SX4, was looking for a 20 gauge SX4 choke tube. Whatever. I said I can order him one in, all that good stuff. I said, what are you looking for? He was like, a full choke. Now, I only use a full choke when I'm hunting turkey. I don't use the full choke for anything else other than hunting turkey. When I'm hunting ducks, I'm using improved cylinder or a modified. But he said he wanted a full choke so he could punch out to 50 yards on divers. Does that make, like, and I'm not saying the guy is right ever or anything like that, but I don't know, like a full choke for 50 yards out on divers. Like, I know it'll go out, like a full choke will put you out 50 yards, but do you need that for divers, Philly?
Good luck finding them.
Well, I believe it was when Jeff Coates was on last. I went on a bit of a spell there about people trying to chase the fucking unicorn for that magical choke. And there isn't. And I will recap this again for those that missed that fucking episode. There is not the one end all be all fucking choke. Mm-hmm. You need to adapt your gear to the situations. Like, I run a number of semi-autos that have removable chokes, and the vast majority of those guns have 2 chokes dedicated to their usage. So my Benelli M2 20 gauge, my bread and butter gun, God bless her, I love her to death. I run a Rob Roberts T2, which is equivalent to about a light mod. And then I run a Carlson Sporting Clays Extended in improved mod. So I use that Rob Roberts T2 for my small water, close-in stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I go to the improved mod Carlson for my big water and my field shoots. I've spent the time patterning these firearms. And I know for a fact with that improved mod choke and running steel, even running the bismuth that I did during opening day, I will flat out fucking lace geese at 40 yards. Dead. Not dropping, fucking killing them at 40 yards with a 20 gauge. Because I've spent the time, I've done the work. Even with the 12 gauges, this past Saturday, I was out doing a layout boat shoot, and I opted to run my Benelli Super Black Eagle, like the first generation Super Black Eagle, and I've got a extended long range choke in it. And we all know how hard divers are to kill. Like they just don't fucking die.
Nope.
And it was my turn. I was out in the layout boat, and I was laying out next to my buddy Cody. And we had a flock of birds come through. I had one a pair skate off to my left side, and I flat out laced this duck at like 45 yards. And my buddy Cody was like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "Dude, that was a far shot." I'm like, "Yeah, that was pushing my limits, but I took the poke, and I know, like, pattern density, and I knew, like, I was at the end of my range. I wouldn't have gone any further, but I flat out killed that bird. And it's because I've done the homework. I've spent the time. Like, for divers, you need the pattern density. You need the energy. You need pellets on target. That's why I run tighter choke. But, like, I'm not gonna poke out much further than 40 yards, because you're just gonna cripple birds, and then you're gonna lose birds, and that's what it's not all about, right?
What were you, Dave? You were holding up the Kicks catalog there.
So if you look in the Kicks catalog, there's actually a effective distance chart, and it kind of gives you a guideline on it. But at the bottom of that page, it says patterning tips. And it says, the second last one says, know the capabilities of your gun before going afield.
Yeah.
Right?
That's some old English there for anybody that didn't afield. That's
old English.
Yeah. And the other key,
isn't that a beer commonly sold in 40-ounce bottles?
And I get, I'm not getting what you're scooping there.
Speaking of that, did you guys see that Instagram post there this week about a guy shooting geese at 60 plus yards, and the only ammo he can use is that Remington stuff?
So I got. First off, Ryan, you were going to chime in on something there about the choke tube, and we cut you off.
Yeah, it's perfect segue into this, because there's the three pieces, and Phil talked about it. Like, there's the quality of your firearm, there's the quality of your choke, and then the most important thing is the quality of your ammunition. Like, are you shooting steel? Are you shooting tungsten? Are you shooting mix? What ounce? What shot are you shooting? Like, it is a scientific formula to what's going to work. Mm-hmm. And like you said, your gear has to be flexible to the task at hand. So if you're going to shoot steel at Canada Goose at 60 yards, unless you're the resurrected version of Tom Knapp or your last name is Gould, congratulations, you have what we call the golden BB.
Yeah.
So,
sorry. So I just wanted to chime in here, though. Am I wrong then in my thinking that a full choke on divers out to 55 yards is not a good idea? Am I wrong in thinking that that's not a good idea, or is it 100%? Hey, listen, if a full choke with your gun, with your ammo, and you're able to fucking down birds at 50 yards, then go for it. I have no experience shooting that far with that type of choke.
I would say if you can go to a skeet range and consistently do it 7 out of 10 times at that distance, lay into it. If you can't, then you're just crippled. You're just going to wound birds.
Yeah, okay.
That's the biggest issue, is posting that shit on Instagram.
Yeah.
You're going to get these kids that go out there that haven't hunted before, and because you were irresponsible in your post, they're going to fucking go out there. They're going to start shooting at 60-plus yards with their full choke, and they haven't patterned their gun properly, and they don't know what they're doing, and they're going to injure more birds. And some of those birds they won't retrieve because they don't have a dog yet. Yeah. And, like, it's just a revolving cycle. Like, we got to be more responsible with what we post, right?
Well, before all that, you got to learn how to fucking shoot. So many guys go out there Oh, I got a Benelli SB3 with a Rob Roberts, and I'm shooting bismuth or tungsten and all this shit. But you can't shoot. You know, you never practice shooting clays, you know, for years, just years and years of it. That's what, you know, I pride myself on being a good shot. Probably Phil does too, and Ryan, and all you guys do. You know, you put the practice in, you get guys, well, I'm not killing them at 50 yards. Well, it doesn't mean you're not using the right gear. You're just not hitting them, man. And at 50 yards for whistlers, I'm not. For me, I'm not shooting at a whistler at 50 yards. There's no way I'm killing him. He's just going to skip, and then the dog's going to die out in the middle of the river chasing him.
It's funny you bring that up, Cory, because I touched on this on another episode a few back. Yeah, it's all fine and dandy.
Yeah.
You're a fucking epic shot at 40 and 50 yards. Well, that's not where I want to kill birds.
No.
I wanna do my part and trick those birds and fucking spank them at 20 yards.
Yeah, I pride myself on finishing ducks and geese.
Yeah, that's what I want.
I want to finishing fucking whistlers.
I want to shoot fuckers in the face, my face. I don't want to be like, oh, I can't get him to decoy today, so we're just gonna crack pot shots and fucking pass shoot them. No, I want to shoot finishing birds, landing gear down in the kill hole. That's what I want to fucking do.
Yeah, awesome. So let's get back to this thing now. This fella that went on Instagram that Dave brought up that talked about this Remington ammunition, and it's the only thing that allows them to poke out to 60 yards. Now, so here's the so there's a ton of problems with this. Oh, Dave, sorry, go ahead, buddy.
Now, to be fair, like I don't know if you've seen what that Remington ammunition is, but essentially it has like 2 sets of powder. Like you've got the inner powder, and then that comes out, and then you got the outer rim of powder that it's like a second ignition basically. But if you want to maintain it, but if you want to maintain, it's like a rim job, yeah. But if you want to maintain a good gun, right? You don't want to be getting the rim job and getting that shit all over, right?
It's my number one fear in the blind.
Getting shit in your waders.
and the pun is intended there as well. So here's my thing with that post. The ammo, that Remington ammo. So first off, I want to, and tell me if I'm wrong here.
You're wrong.
Because
wrong.
Yeah. But this isn't Remington going bankrupt? So that ammo is soon going to be like not available.
Remington.
Refer to our firearms and ammunitions expert, Mark Fitch.
So Remington is not going. It's filed for bankruptcy protection.
Okay. So they're not going. Okay, so Remington's not going anywhere.
They're preventing bankruptcy.
Maybe not. We don't know, but there's nothing certain. Right now, it's bankruptcy protection, and that's because of the big lawsuit that was filed against them because one of their firearms was used in a shooting.
Right. Okay, so that's cleared. So now, the 60-yard shot, posting it on Instagram. Now, this person is going to be getting a show, his own show on Wild TV, I believe.
Fuck.
Okay, so
that's
now
just bad.
So this is my thing, and we've touched on it on this show a number of times. On we're such a small community here in Canada, especially in Ontario and Canada as a whole, as a bunch of waterfowlers. We don't do ourselves any favors. We're putting up the wrong images, saying the wrong things, giving more firepower to the anti-hunters. And then now you have a guy that's going to go on, national television. He's going to go on Wild TV. And this is the message
provincial television.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think, but if you read the post, it says, "Smiles over piles. We got these at 60 plus yards." But really, if it's smiles over piles, you wouldn't be shooting at 60 fucking yards.
I just don't want. My fear is that it's going to be another show, and you're going to get 15-year-old kids that are growing up in a non-hunting family where they're not shown the right things to do, and then they look to this and this is what they see. And it's these, like, I know when I watch a hunting show, they already look like they're crazy long shots just because of the way the camera makes it look.
Yeah.
But now, like at 60, can you imagine what a bird would look like at 60 yards on TV? Because those birds that they're shooting that looks like 60 yards are only at 20.
Well,
yeah, the camera does no fucking justice when it comes to some of these shows and stuff.
No,
one of the biggest things, in all honesty, don't pride yourself as this big fucking band killer. Don't pride yourself as a world-class caller or a guy that crushes fucking piles day after day. Pride yourself on being a mentor to these new kids so they don't grow up to be fucking retards. And try to shoot birds at 60 fucking yards and fuck things up. And yes, the old Phil's back. Pride yourself on paving the fucking road for the better, for the future. I love you too, Damien. That's what you should pride yourself on. If you see these kids doing stupid shit, try to help them. Don't fucking spank their knuckles, whatever. Right? Like, look, dude, I get it. You're new, whatever. Try to coach these kids. Try to better their ethics, their morals. You know.
Okay.
So we ran into this.
So
we ran into this in early goose season. There was a group of kids had one of the best fields that are around. They're all 18 years old, right? And we've taken them hunting a couple times. Well, we drove by their field, and I went by pretty slow, and they were set up in the dead middle of, it was a half-cut corn silage field, and they were set up in layout blinds in the middle of it. So the next day, I waited until the hunt was over, and I called the one kid, and I'm just like, what were you doing there? And he says, oh, it didn't go so well, and I don't know why. And I said, well, why did you set up that? Like, why not just fucking sit in the corn that's not cut yet? Oh, you can do that? I'm like, fuck yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah.
And crush birds.
And
that's a good hunt right there.
That's my favorite.
Corey has a question. Go ahead, sir.
You just got to be the loudest talker. Just fucking start yelling.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what I do. Just swear.
Well, and I think you guys all agree with this. You look at the youth, not even the youth, just the generation as it is. They don't have respect for nothing. When I grew up, my father told me if I shot at a deer over 30 yards with a crossbow, I'll never hunt with him again. I never shot a deer over 30 yards because if you can get them to 50, if you're a good hunter, you can get them to 20 to your bait pile, or if you're smart enough, get them on a trail. Same thing with ducks. And as of late, like driving down this river in my boat, this river I live on, in the past 5 to 10 years, every morning that I go for a hunt, I'm shooting a bird on the way to my setup in the dark because there's a wounded bird on the water. You know, and it happens more and more and more. Or there'll be 3. Like last year, we went to go set up just a mile down from my place, and I shot 3 birds before daylight. I don't give a shit. I'm killing these birds because they can't fly. They're screwed. And I think if every youth hunter tried to pull a wounded goose at a frozen ice or watch a wounded goose freeze to death in the water, they would stop trying the goddamn birds at 60 yards. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They would stop trying geese at 80 yards. Like, fuck your Skybuster sticker. I'd like to slap that on the side of some of these trucks I see on the river shooting at these geese at 100 yards with tungsten. Yeah, sure, you're whacking them. That goose is going to freeze in a bay in the St. Lawrence River. You know, how would you like it? Because there's not enough respect for the animal anymore. And that's just plain as day. There is not enough respect anymore in general. You know.
Good point.
So that's where I see it.
And well, if you want, you can order more of those fuck Skybusters stickers off my website. www.punisherwaterfowl.com.
If you make it a 12-foot sticker, I'd love to just slap that on both sides of my trailer and just ride
Drew Galloway. Drew Galloway pasted her right on the back of his truck.
Pretty sure he had to take his rear view mirror out of his truck because it's useless now.
Oh yeah, I got a big camouflage Tundra, and it would just look good right up the side of it.
Isn't that Cannonball Run? Sorry, Cannonball Run.
Yeah.
Just take the rearview mirror out. Don't need to see what's behind me when I drive as fast as I do.
Hey, Burt Reynolds. We learned so much from him.
Anyway, what were you saying, Damien?
Yeah, no, that's it, boys. We're on to an hour here now. I'm sure.
Holy. I was just getting warmed up.
I know, buddy. I know. Hey,
did I talk too long?
A little.
No, not.
Actually, it was pretty good.
No, it was
overall.
actually good. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it was good because people didn't have to listen to me. So that's always a fucking win.
And I used fucking headphones this week.
I know you did. Good for you, Philly.
We can hear you.
We didn't cover conservation. We got a couple minutes to.
Absolutely, buddy. Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
I wanted to talk about conservation, especially in my area, South Nation conservation. The Nation River is a river I live on. I want, especially if young hunters are listening, I didn't know about Ducks Unlimited, Delta Waterfowl, none of that before that. I was a carpenter. I grew up around wood. This is another thing going back to use what your situation is. I learned how to build wood duck boxes before I learned how to build bird feeders and shit like that. Yeah. I built wood duck boxes when I was 8 years old with my dad. So a couple of years ago, I took the notion, I take lots of ducks from this river every year and lots of geese. I took the notion and I built 16 wood duck boxes and 20 some hen houses, put them all up myself. Anyway, South Nation Conservation from an hour away from here, because the Nation River runs from Brockville all the way to the Ottawa River. They ended up finding out about that. They reimbursed me for everything. I never asked for it. I gave it all back into the youth hunt program. So there's lots of stuff like that you can do in the long run for conservation. Also trapping. Trapping is a dying trade, and first and foremost, I'm a trapper. I've been a trapper my whole life. Before I wouldn't be able to do guiding if I wasn't a trapper, having my family business as trapping. And trapping hunting is conservation. Trapping is even bigger than hunting. Trapping is an all year round. There's things you trap in the spring. There's things you trap in the summer. I'm a beaver trapper. I still kill a couple hundred beaver every year. And
I've slayed a few in my day too, buds.
Killing beavers and ripping out beaver dams is what I get paid to do. And I'm draining wetlands. But at the same time, I learned to dictate water. For my duck hunting spots, sure, I kill the beaver, knock 2 feet out of the dam, but instead of knocking 6 feet, keep the landowner happy, let the grass, let the moist soil grow, put the dam back in, just sticks in mud, or new beaver are going to migrate back in. I'm going to get paid to kill them again, and I'm going to have duck hunting spots. And it goes to predators, foxes, coyotes. Foxes I don't like killing because there's not a lot around, but coyotes, raccoons, stuff like that. There's no money in the fur trade, but as conservation, I still trap raccoons up along this river and any place I can. Trapping coyotes. Coyotes eat eggs, and especially up north. There was a big thing. I trapped wolves in northern Ontario. Wolves were starving to death because they've ate themselves at a house and home. They have no moose. They have no deer to eat. They have no rabbits. They have nothing. There's barrens up there. And wolves always run water. Their 2 biggest main food sources are beaver and moose. And in the summertime, the moose just goes and swims. The beaver just goes and swims. So in the summertime, wolves starve. So where do they run in the spring and summer? They run around the lakes. And what's beside the lakes? Nests, duck nests. They're not making a lot, but they're surviving off of it. They're starving to death. When that water freezes, the moose runs out in the lake. The wolves can catch them. When that water freezes, the beaver leaves an air pocket to come out in the spring. They pull them out like that. So a wolf doubles his weight in the wintertime. So in the summertime and the springtime, he's eating duck eggs. We killed 14 wolves up north, snared them, and we did ecropsies on them. And all they had was other wolf bones in them and eggshells. So they're eating duck eggs and they're eating each other. They went cannibalistic because northern wolves are starving to death. So killing those wolves is conservation for ducks, and and conservation for everything else. It proves that wolves aren't really good at managing where coyotes, can survive and manage other ways. Wolves just eat themselves out of house and home. So, conservation wise, trapping plays a huge part in it, and I'm a big advocate for it. And fur trapping, I think hopefully after COVID and everything, maybe it'll make a comeback, but more trappers, more kids that are trappers and hunters, it'd be a great thing. So that was just my little part I wanted to get on this about conservation and trapping.
That's awesome. We got a listener down in New Brunswick named Brad Cummings, who's a bit of a trapper Brad. Too. Yeah, you know him?
I met Brad and Matt Wilson. Me, my father, and my brother went out to New Brunswick's trapper convention. First place I met Matt Wilson. Him and his dog walked in, and I said, "I know you." He goes, "I know you." So we spent a weekend together. Yeah, it was.
That's awesome. Cool. Small world, eh?
Yep.
Luscious locks.
Hair on him. Beautiful mustache.
Beautiful mustache. All right, fellas. Cory, thanks so much, man, for coming on. This was a good treat.
Enjoyed it, boys.
Which was really cool because we really only asked you 2 questions that you skirted around and you didn't fucking answer. But you know what? That's all cool.
Still watching the news.
Cory,
I'm watching the news too much. Fucking Trudeau.
Yeah. No. But it was awesome because we only asked you really 2 questions, but it was some really good conversation and some really good stuff, especially for that new inexperienced hunter that don't grow up within the typical hunting family, right? So
don't be a fucking skybuster.
To take, a lot of good things to take away from this episode, fellas. And Cory, thanks so much because you brought a ton of that stuff up, and you even got Philly excited there when you started talking about that.
And before we wrap this up, for any junior hunters that are out there and they're watching this, listen to us. For the love of God, you have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything, reach out to any one of us on here. We will put our heart and soul into helping you and making you a better waterfowler. That's what we love to do.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Forward you off the rest of the boys. No, thanks, man. I really do appreciate it. I know I reached out. Dave mentioned, he was like, "Hey, man, we should really get Cory on." And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I messaged you, and you were like, "Yeah, you just let me know when, and I'll make sure I'm available." So
well, maybe we can get more questions, man. And we can do this again sometime.
No, absolutely, man. Would love to have you back on again. Maybe towards the end of the season, and pick your brain a little bit more. It was good. We'll do a last minute around. Mark, any last words, buddy?
It was good to meet you, Cory. Good conversation tonight. I see you had your hands on a nice beaver there recently. The one you put that picture up with.
He was big.
Oh yeah, that was
like 60 pounds.
One of the bigger beavers I seen put up on Facebook or Instagram.
Big beaver. Damien's fighting his lips so hard right now. He's gonna start bleeding.
Just
boys,
right now, right?
Yeah.
Killing me. You're fucking killing me. Ryan.
Good to meet you, Cory, man. Hopefully we cross paths here at some point when if the world ever normalizes again, man. If you're out east or if I'm back in Ontario, or if we maybe out west someday. So, but stay in touch, man. And it was good to shoot shit with you on everything and anything waterfowl.
Always.
Philly.
Cory, buddy, it's always a pleasure, even though we talk like once a week.
Yeah. It's pretty much
pleasure having you on, buddy. And hopefully one of these days we'll be able to get out and do a shoot together.
I think it's the first time Phil hasn't sworn at me.
We can change that. I still got 30 seconds.
No, Cory, it was good to finally sit down and talk to you. I know we talk a bit on Facebook, and that video of yours really touched home. Like, when my grandpa was on his deathbed there last September, he didn't tell me until 2 days before he died that he actually hunted waterfowl when he was in Scotland. And then when I saw your video, and I'm trying to make duck calls out of the cherry wood that was on the side of his house, it kind of it really hit home, and that's why I was like, holy fuck, I got to talk to this guy, Damien, get him on. So it's really good to talk to him.
No shit. Oh man, that's really cool.
Yeah, pink-footed goose. That's what he was hunting back in Scotland, pink-footed goose. So now my goal in life is to fucking go over there and shoot one of them things, just like he did.
Hell yeah. Well, and I mean, it's great that you're doing that. And, you know, there's a testament to who taught us how to do this stuff. So that's great. And also, I just throw this in here. Me and Reed, we're finishing up with a part 2 of Call It Home this fall. It's going to be kind of a remake from my property. I was shooting a black duck. Hopefully we can get her done here probably within the next 2 weeks. So it's going to be the call I originally built that's sitting in front of me. I'm going to go back there and use it. And I throw the decoys out, the old foam decoys I used, wooden ones from my grandfather's garage. And yeah, it'll be pretty cool. So you boys be watching for that, and everybody be watching for that. It should be pretty neat. So
that's awesome. Please let us know when that comes out so we can put it up on our social media as well. And not that there's a whole ton of people or anything, but if we could give it a little bit more exposure, we most certainly would. So please let us know when that's up. And yeah.
Thank you guys very much for inviting me on here tonight. This was awesome.
No, buddy, it was our pleasure. Thanks for coming on, everybody. We keep saying it, broken record right here, but we are as advertised. Nothing fancy, nothing polished. We are who we are. A bunch of friends that love hanging out with one another, cutting one another up, and talking about bird hunting. We're not experts. We don't pretend to be experts, but we are passionate about what we do. And that's, the common ground that we all have. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again to Cory Alkerton for coming on. Sorry, buddy, I bastardized your name a bit.
You got her, bud.
Thanks so much, everybody, for listening and the continued support. I cannot tell you how much it means to Dave and I to see those messages coming across our social media that you're enjoying the show, and any suggestions that you could give us that could make the show better. Please do. You know what? It'll only get better with your help. With that, big love. Be safe. Get out there this week and take a kid hunting, and don't be a douchebag. Big love. Until next week.